super excited to host Valentin Knows. He's CEO of Evers, a software development consultancy and custom solutions development for AEC. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend to check AEC Trailblazers podcast. And he has some amazing guests on the show. So thanks a lot, Valentin, for being on the show, and I appreciate your time for this.
Thanks to you, Mayur, for having me, and for sure, would love to host you in the AC Trade Races podcast soon.
Yeah. And I was checking your career. You worked at MEP at Voyanasi to starting your own company. Like, tell us what were some career highlights and pivotal moments during this journey.
I think, um, but let me tell you a little bit about my background. I started coding when I was really young. Like my mother forced me to do it, actually. And then I decided to become an architect. And when I was at college, I started my first company, which was a company where we automated the design of architectural assets for the gaming industry. That was my first approach of having my own company, and I sold that company. And the at that point, I was like, should I just start another company go through the pain, or maybe just learn a little bit more about the industry? Because at the time, I didn't have much experience. So that's when I became a BIM manager, basically leading teams on how to put together BIM models and coordination processes. And then I slowly started working with technology more and more. I moved to another company where I basically created their development team, and we grow from one person to 30 people on 2 years. And that was like, yeah, I'm doing this for another company. Why not just do it for myself? And that's why we decided that there was a big lack of professionals who actually, had the knowledge of the industry, and also had very robust skills on the software development side. Uh, and having gone through the problems of trying to find those people, I knew there was a lack of skill there, and that's why I decided to start Evers. So, kind of like, I would say those are the highlights of my career.
Yeah, and I also like I saw the statement on your website by architects who code and build tools for architects. And I could resonate with it because me and my co-founder, we are both architects and we both do coding, and it brings a different nuance. Because I was having a technical discussion regarding like AI for visualization and flow plan, and architects have way different expectations from the quality of output than like a normal person or an engineer, because we know like the importance of quality of spaces. So if I were to ask, like, first, uh, why you chose to go the software development agency route and not a startup route or a product development route? What were the key decision criterias?
That's a good one. In essence, I'm a geek, and I love to be involved in many projects at the same time. And consultancy gives you that. I get to see the most amazing technologies of that many companies are putting together, and at the same time, there's a huge variation. One day you might be working with AR, VR. Another day you might be working with um, I don't know, like AI. Another day would be data. Another day would be a 3D model. So that's a good thing about consultancy, that you get to play with many different technologies at the same time. So that was the kind of the first one. Second one is, we love consultancy. I've been gone through the pain of putting together a company, putting together a product, and I love helping other entrepreneurs on the right way, the right decisions you need to take in order to put together a product. Sometimes it's hard to explain that, but I think that was the second reason. And the third reason is, I love bootstrapping.
Mm,
Like the first company I did, I bootstrap, and this company we also have been bootstrapping for almost 3 years, and I love it. You know, I love the grind. Don't ask me why, but I love the
mm,
grind of just build on top of adding, just add pure adding value and passion on top of it. Don't get me wrong, like going to ABC is not a bad thing at all, and sometimes it's the only way of doing things. But personally, I love bootstrapping, and consulting has given us that, and also the fact that we have put together a couple of small products, and the good thing is like we don't have to give answers to anybody.
mm.
We can just do it for fun, or we can just do it because we want to, because it's our own money. So I think those are the three big answers on why we decided on going on the consultancy route.
Yeah, and Valentin, like I have a huge respect, like especially for founders who chose the bootstrap route, because from my experience, like even if there's a good product, selling to architects for $50 or $100, super difficult, and let alone like selling selling consultancy. I'm guessing it's more difficult. So can you share your first client story, or like how did you navigate this? Like, okay, you have the skill set. Yeah.
That's a good question. At the beginning, that I started the company, I was the only developer at first, so it was my one man company, and it was hard. It was a lot of hard working. So at the beginning, I don't know. My fees were lower for sure, so that's one thing. Not that much, but they were a little bit lower, so I can get my first clients easily. Secondly, I already knew a lot of people in the industry, so for me it was much easier, to just knock a couple of doors. It's like, hey, you need help on this, and that was my first clients. Then when I started to, you know just sell to people who were outside my close circle, it was a little bit harder for sure. But for me it was like showing the value of, what, it's not just about software development, it's about all my background in the industry and my background as an entrepreneur, that I can tell you and I can advise you if you have the right product, if there are on your competition, on if you better, it's something it's better off, develop it from scratch, or you better off just buy an API or something out there. So it was a really good mix, I think. um, it was hard anyway, and at the beginning you don't have the money maybe to just hire a lot of people. So I outsourced at the beginning one developer, and let me tell you a fun story. When I hired my first employee, it was the accountant or the admin manager, and she was like, I've been working for 6 months, and she was like, I cannot understand the hours. Like it doesn't match the hours that we put together with the amount of people. And she was like, "Let me check this." And she was like, "It shows like you have worked per month, like 300 hours or something like that, per person." I was like, "Yeah, those are the real numbers. Like I've been waking up at 7 a.m. and going to bed at one in the morning, and just sleeping 6 hours or something like that, and then just wake up and work all day." So I think at the beginning it's a lot of grinding, a lot of hard work. So that would be my my answer.
That's amazing. And what were some like realizations you had during building the company? Like I'm asking from this perspective. Initially I thought, like as a naive developer, like okay, if I build a good solution and it solves a problem, people will buy it. But then over time I realized, like, learning business, learning selling is more important than the technical skills itself. So what were some like during building of Evers, some realizations or skills you had to learn along the way?
I guess you are right when you say selling. Like selling is the most important thing for sure. People think it's product. I don't think so. Some say if you have a good product, it will sell by itself. It might be the case sometimes, but or in B2C maybe, but B2B it's a completely different story, and it's so hard to just have a good product and not sell it. Most likely you will go bankrupt. So selling is the most important skill. If you want sales, you don't have a business. So that's the first one. The second one is maybe a good service, like because if you have sales but then you don't have recurring clients in consultancy, it's a problem. Software as a service, it's easier. You just sell your product one time, and then people pay over time. And it's easier to maintain clients. When you're doing consultancy, it might be a one time off, supposedly. So have to make sure to make a really, really, really good job. Otherwise, they're not going to hire you again. And then, given the fact that it's so hard to sell, you can have a problem with money if you don't make sure clients become recurring clients. So, and that translates into having an amazing service. So that's the second one. Um, Transparency for me, it's also key. Clients will come to you and you have to be straight with them, like, I cannot help you, or you have a really bad product, why don't you try this, or your competition is doing so much better than you and your competition is Autodesk, you don't have the money to go against Autodesk, why don't you try something different, or whatever it comes to your mind, you have to be transparent. Sometimes it will go against you winning a client, and that's fine, but you need to be completely transparent. um, and then people, people hire the best people, train the best people, um, and that's also a key. People think it's just hire the best one. Well, sometimes that's not easy. The best one might be extremely expensive, so you need to make sure you create the best one, and that's the hardest part. Hiring the best one is easy; you just need money and time. um, Creating the best one is not as easy. Like, you need to maybe take a person who is not senior engineer, might be a junior, and you need to teach that person passion and technical skills and a lot of stuff, and that takes time. So the combination of that, and finally patience. um, we're bombarded by social media saying, be your own boss, become a millionaire in 2 years, if
Hmm.
not, you're a loser. And that's far from the truth, man. You're an entrepreneur as well, and that's not the truth. And even it's even worse in our industry, that it might take you 10 or 15 years. So just patience. Eventually, if you make a good job, you might make it, but you have to have patience.
I see. That's great advice. Like a, a lot of times in like Paul Graham says, like in startup world, do things that don't scale. Is there any story of in the consultancy business for years you did things that didn't scale to grow?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. When you have a consultancy, it's hard to scale when you're targeting a niche business, right?
Mm.
Like, if you have a big consulting firm and you're targeting everybody and you don't care so much about quality but more on quantity or enterprise, you can scale, sure, like Accenture, or big firms that are doing consultancy. The problem is that market is really big, it's really crowded, and how do you differentiate yourself with a company that's been out there and that they have billions of dollars? um, so when you're targeting a niche and you need niche people that it takes so much time to train, and you're selling to companies that takes a lot of time to sell as well, you're in a big problem if you cannot scale. um, but I think that's the key of the question is, you don't need to scale. If
Mm.
that's what you're going to do, you just need to add more value. Like, if you just scale in terms of, hey, I just want to add more people and throw more people to the problem, I don't think that's the answer. And not scaling is not a bad thing. Like, there I know a company that it's called 6 and 5, and they did the designs for Windows, the latest Windows. It's a 6 people company. They charge millions for each work, and the thing is, they already have committed to work for almost 4 years. So for me, that's successful. And I spoke with the owner, and he was like, I don't want to scale. Like, I don't get, I'm making millions, I'm successful, I love what I do, I don't have stress. And for me, that's success, not scale,
Mm,
in terms of just people. So my take on that is, or at least on what we do, is we don't want to scale infinitely, maybe a little bit more, but we just want to add value, and maybe how to add value to our clients in not only software development, or how we can maybe create a centralized place for their data or their APIs, or help them sell, or whatever we think we can automate and add more value to them. So for us, at least, that's our goal: add more value, and grow in terms of the added value we give to our clients, not just the amount of people we have in our company.
I see. Recently I was watching like a SaaS pricing video from Patrick Campbell, and he says like you should price your SaaS service like from value metrics. And to your point, like for a value driven approach for your clients, there are different pricing model of our hourly based pricing on how much hour versus the amount of increment in revenue or savings in productivity hours. So what has been your experience related to pricing? Like, I know initially you shared like you might do lower just to build a portfolio and build a relationship with client, but uh, how would you like approach it now?
Well, yeah, it was lower, but it was like 15% low. It was still higher than most big firms anyway. But um, I typically like to approach on on not only the market, but also the strategy of our company, because it's true that you need to have the exact same pricing when you're doing a SaaS company and you want to scale a lot. In our case, it's different. Um, Basically, we can just change the pricing depending on or increase our fees depending on the amount of clients we have, for example. But we always try to be fair with our clients. Like, if I they hire us one time, I try to maintain the same fee forever, and unless there is a big inflation or something. But we also try to be fair with them, and also fair in terms of the way we engage, and that's something that we are flexible as well. Sometimes with companies, it's like, hey, this is a really defined scope, and we're gonna go close budget because it's really defined scope, and we know exactly what we need to do. Sometimes it's about R&D. Hey, you want to create something that no one has ever done out there, and for sure we have not worked on something like that. So in those cases, we just do, first of all, we might do a little bit higher fee because we need to put a lot of effort on this. And secondly, we do T&M, because if it's R&D, you never know how much time it's going to take.
Yeah.
And finally, we have other ways of engaging. Like, for example, with early stage startups, sometimes what we do is we take equity. Hey, just give us equity. We do a really reduced fees for you. And then if, for example, you raise more than $1 million or $2 million, then we charge you a little bit more. So it's a win-win situation. You're a founder, you don't have a technical team. Um, and then you can rely on us, and then we don't charge you a lot. But then when you raise money, it's fair that you give us more money to us, and at the same time we retain equity, so we feel that you're part of your company and not just an outsourced company. So I guess my take is try to be flexible, because it's not a software as a service, it's more services, and just need to align what the client wants with the strategy of your company.
Got it. But that's quite smart. Like if you're working with AC startups like equity, because then it's a win-win situation for both party. And so you have been running Evers. What would be your advice to like young Valentin who is fresh out of college, who are aspirational, wants to build company like yours? What are the things you learned the hard way? And if you want to teach young Valentin a crash course, what are the things you would want or cover in that?
That's a, I have messed it up so many times. so, but generally speaking, I guess one is not try to do everything at the same time. It's tempting to just launch a company or do something and try to do everything at the same time. Like just do a podcast and do YouTube videos and do a product and do a service and be everywhere and say yes to everything. And that's a bad thing. You like I used to do that, and that took a big toll on my health. I was so stressed, and I was having headaches, and I couldn't sleep well, and I was like pains everywhere in my body, which it's not natural, man, and that's not life. And I learned that I needed to say no and focus on just one thing instead of trying to do everything. So, one of the first advices is just that focus on one thing and really commit to one thing, and eventually will pay off. Not necessarily you will be successful in your startup because there's a lot of factors involved, like luck or in but a failed startup is not a failed entrepreneur. It's not the same. If a company goes bankrupt, I just feel we have one good entrepreneur. It might be a really good entrepreneur that just had bad luck, but we now have an entrepreneur that already have a lot of experience. So second time is gonna do so much more. Um, so concentrate, focus, have patience, and don't get carried away by everything you see in social media. Like, for example, being a software developer. A lot of people are saying if you're not a software developer, being an architect, you're a failure. For me, that's a really bad advice, man. Like software development is not for everybody, and it shouldn't be for everybody. Um, and there are so like you want to work in tech, sure. First, for the right reasons. It cannot only be salary. Like if you're saying like I'm an architect, not making enough money, I'm gonna go for tech. I don't think that's stupid for me. Like if you're an architect and you're making enough money, how can you add more value? If it is because you want to add technical skills, perfect. But there might be so many other ways, not only technology. But if you like tech, then it's a good thing. Like, hey, you want to make more money and you like tech and you want to, and that's your passion, go for it. But make sure you always run for your passion and not just because of money or just because of some reason. And um, don't get carried away on that, or find your own startup and you were successful at the second year because you're seeing all these companies making these big numbers. Don't get carried away by social media. Just follow your own path. I used to just uh, listen to many voices that were not my own voice. So now I try to just do as much as I can, following my gut feeling and doing my own path. I don't care if it's slower than others or if it's not as fancy as having a unicorn. I don't care. Those are my advices that I've learned the hard way over time.
Yeah, that's great. Like, actually, when you're mentioning about like being patient with, and in the bootstrapping journey, like if you want to create a valuable service or product, it takes time. And as a founder, you have to make a lot of decisions, sometimes judgments without enough data. So, how do you like evaluate scenario where you just have to continue in this direction for a long time, or maybe you should pivot? Like, because how? because sometimes you could be patient and it takes so many years and you're like, maybe I should have changed direction a bit earlier. So how do you balance that?
That's a really great answer, really good question. Sorry. I was reading the KP Reddy.
Yeah, yeah.
The well he The other day I was reading his book, and he had a quote that I love, which is the 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 best skill that an entrepreneur should have is know when to accelerate and when to quit. That balance is so hard because there is not a manual, on when to stop, or when to continue. um, and the crazy thing is, there are so many examples out there of people that have been grinding for 10 years and then suddenly they make it, and it's like, yeah, it was because of grinding. There are so many examples of people that have been there for 30 years and they never make it. So um, I do feel it should be related to, first of all, logic. Like, if you just tried something 2 or 3 months and it didn't work like a company, I'm not sure it's time to quit. But if all your customers are saying like, hey, we don't like this, or we're not willing to pay for this, or maybe it's time for you to quit. So it's about a little bit about logic, and then about like give enough time to ideas to actually fail, and be sure that you fail for the right reasons. Because it might be like, hey, I have this product, but nobody's answering my calls or my emails, or, well, it might be that you're maybe not targeting the right person. Make sure that you target certain, like a lot of different profiles, and that all of them are saying, you know what, this is a bad idea, or that maybe they're saying like, hey, you know what, the problem is right, your thesis is right, we have this problem, but we're only willing to pay this amount of money to solve this problem. So then you can make your numbers, like how many companies you need to sell to in order to be profitable, and it might not be worth it. So I feel it's more about logic, and following your gut feeling, and taking a decision when you're in a state that you're relaxed and you're not pressured by anything. But I don't think there is a right or wrong answer on that. I mean, it's just pure gut feeling, and I think that separates good entrepreneurs for bad entrepreneurs as well. Like taking decisions on the right moment.
Yeah, because like the media glorifies perseverance, persistence, but like persistence in wrong direction also doesn't make some sense. So you have to smart enough to make sense of that.
Yeah, yeah, it's persistence, yes, but persistence when you're enjoying what it's about also that, like, hey, are you enjoying what you do, or is your job affecting your personal life, your relationship with your wife, with your kids, with, like, I don't think nothing is worth it if you're not enjoying life. So that would be the first answer. Like, even if you're making millions, me personally, I don't think it's worth it. Or so I think it's, hey, you have the right balance and you're enjoying what you do, you can keep going. Like, hey, you're losing money or you're making money, or you're just going even and then getting a decent salary. So I think it's about that. Like, if a founder comes to me and he has a really great work-life balance, he's happy and loves what he does. And he's just getting a salary that paid the checks, and he's happy with that. But he's not making millions. He's just going even with the company, and he's slowly getting traction. Go for it, man. Why the rush, man? You're enjoying life. That's why we're here for. Why the rush of, hey, you're not making millions? Take your time. Like, you're already getting a salary that pay the checks. Who cares if you're not making millions yet? And the company is even, right? If the company is losing a lot of money, that's a different story. But um, yeah, so it's just about that. It's about balance, I guess.
I see. And do you have like a support system or a mentor? Like, for when you were like developing and growing Evers, if you had any difficult decisions you had to make, like just curious.
Yeah. So I do have mentors. One of my favorite mentors is my previous boss, the one who hired me in the last company I was working on, and I feel mentors are critical because they don't have the pressure. They only are going to ask the right specific questions about it. Um, and I do tend to speak to them a lot. And weirdly enough, a couple of my mentors are my family. One of my brothers, he's specialized in finance, so I always go to him like, "Hey, I'm really stressed out about this. What should I do?" And he's always gonna care about me and the company at the same time, so he make the right questions. And um, my mom, like this might sound stupid, but I always go to my mom, and she's always, and I like the like, she's not gonna care that much about the business. She's just to clarify, she's always been an entrepreneur. She owns her own real estate company, so she knows about business. And but she also cares a lot about me. So when she's me really stressed, it's like, hey, just take your time. Eventually, it's gonna pay off. Or like, hey, if you're not losing money, don't worry about this. And then one of my mentors, he's only about business. So it's like he cares about me, but he's just gonna ask questions about business. So I like to have mentors that care about or have different balances. So then I can ask all of them questions, and then can take my own decision in what resonates more with me. So for me, mentors are extremely important. People think that mentors are just something that gets pushed by PCs, because you must have, but it's important for you to find the right mentors that resonate with you.
Yeah, because like in traditional VC route, VC become one of the mentors, and then you can have advisor. But in the consultancy route, you have to find your own mentors or your own advisors, and sometimes uh, like they might not get equity or vested in interest, so they are just helping it out because they genuinely want you to succeed.
But you can give them equity. Why not? Like, why not?
Yeah, in service
That's a
company.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I
absolutely,
haven't heard
absolutely.
that
You can.
much. Okay.
No, we are actually considering it, with a couple of our mentors, give them a little bit of equity. And actually, if you think about it, it might not sound as sexy as a SaaS, but the thing is, like, we're profitable since day zero. So a mentor, by just giving some time to us, is assured that he will get money and a paycheck every year, because we make money every year.
Mm.
Um, so it's not a bad thing. Imagine you just meet 1 or 2 times per month with someone, and at the end of the year, you get a check with money. If you ask me, and it's a good thing. And um, we also, mentors, they always get something in exchange. My previous boss is like, we do business together. My brother is like, he's about to start his own startup now, and I'm gonna return with him in terms of services. So there is always you can give in return, and also equity. I don't think what that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, like I used to assume like equity in startup, like when you get exit, then they get liquidated. But like okay, in service, maybe from percentage profit, or there could be other ways that equity can be rewarded. Yeah.
Yeah, and also have take into account that 9 out of 10 startups fail. And most of them, they don't make an IPO and might not make an exit. And so if you want to make sure you're going to get money and you're going to out of your equity, you need to be a mentor of 10 startups at the same time. And yeah, that's something you can do, sure. And the potential is big, sure. But rather you just start working, start getting a check at least. And you can have both, like SaaS that will give you the really big checks, but also a couple of small consultancy firms that will give you many checks every year that can also be profitable, man.
Right. So I'm pretty sure as a founder, you wear different hats. You also like do the business apart from coding. What thing excites you the most?
Um, for me personally, I think is every time a client or a new client comes to us and they pitch us their startup, and we can either analyze how to improve the product or how to put together a product. For me, that's so fun because it's not only about, hey, the architecture is going to be this, the DevOps, the testing strategy, the infrastructure. It's more about taking the knowledge from the business we have on, hey, this might work or this might not work or this might be too expensive, or your competition is doing this. And I love that, like when I can go to the competitors, like, your competitors are doing this, you you might not want to, like, do the same thing they're doing. We may do something that's so much better than what they're doing. And for me that's so exciting because I get to be involved, like we spoke earlier, in these really cool products, and I don't have the pressure they have. It's a good thing. Sometimes I do because I share equity or whatever, but for me it's so fun that they open the door to us, giving advice and suggesting how to do a better product. For me, that's extremely exciting, and also the fact that as a CEO, I get to travel a lot, get to be in a lot of conferences and meeting people from all kind of backgrounds is, for me, so amazing. Like, in construction it varies so much depending on not only the country but also depending on the trades, right? If it is a plumber, if it is a GC, if it's an owner, if it is an architectural firm, the scale of the firm, uh, and that's so amazing because it varies so much that I get to learn so much about the industry that for me, uh, it's just pure pleasure. I have so much passion for our industry and technology that for me, I enjoy it so much.
Yes. So is it like if I get it right, when the AEC tech startups come to you, are you kind of based on your own expertise in AC, helping them develop a go-to-market strategy, or like prioritizing the niche or differentiated value so that they can stand out or survive? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's so typically it can vary a little bit. Sometimes clients come to us with, hey, I just need you to fix this, and we just do it. But our biggest clients and the most exciting ones are when they might not even have a product. We have clients that they don't have a product, they don't have a development team at all, and they're just, hey, I don't know where to start, like, and we help them put together the product. Even sometimes they, because I always recommend companies have at least one or two developers. I don't think just relying all the eggs on the same basket is a good practice. Like hiring Evers and don't hire anybody else, I don't think that's a good practice. I think the best you can do is at the beginning, maybe yes, but then you should hire your own developers or your own CTO, and that's when we also help. It's like we can help you train your CTO, and we can work along your CTO and help you put together a team, not only in terms of product but also in terms of how we help them put together a team. So um, for us is adding as much value as we can on every aspect we can, basically. And sometimes it's also, like you said, strategy. Like, hey, I want to do this, and we're like, not sure about it. It's going to take you so much work. Your competitors are already doing it. Not sure you should do it. Sometimes they listen to us, sometimes they don't. But and that sometimes we decide to work with clients, sometimes we decide not to work with clients. So it's again like a balance between client company relationship, I guess.
Like it just triggered me a thought like there are accelerators in our industry for AEC tech startups, and sometimes there are solo founders who have like deep domain expertise but might not have coding skills. So it would be interesting to have like partnership with a company like yours where there's like fractional software development as a service, or like MVP development, because then you get the domain insights as well as efficient way of developing the prototype, because for the first time founder they might be putting more efforts on things which might not be necessary, and also they have the pressure of validating that idea like what's the tendency of people paying for that product. So there's so many things to figure out. So having that from you guys would be an interesting partnership. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and even clients. Like we also work with architectural GC subs. We also have clients that are those kind of businesses. So when we see there is a match, we also introduce sometimes clients to like our clients to another of our clients, and they might end up buying the product. So or even PCs. We have a couple of friends who are PCs, and uh, they sometimes send us companies like, hey, can you give a look to this company? We don't know if we want to invest or not, and we help them that way. But then VCs, when they already invest in those companies, they recommend us. So it's a
Mm,
good synergy there. And also the same happened to us when we find a company that we think, oh, this company is going to make it. We go to our favorite VC and we're like, hey, you know what, you should invest in this company. I think they're getting matched with you. So uh, it's
I
about
see.
adding value in every way we can.
I see. So you are deep into the trenches of like building solutions yourself, working with startups. So, and you have an idea about various problem sets in the domain. I'm curious, what are the things you observe is a saturated market where a lot of startups are building product in that direction, and what are the areas which people are not paying enough attention, but it's is needed to build solutions in those direction.
That's a good question. We actually even did we created a website where we map out like 800 startups from the AC. It's public out there for anybody to use it. We did it internally, but we decided to make it public so anybody can take advantage of that. And we found out, not only based on the experience with our clients, but we found out a couple of interesting things that are happening on the AC. Like most startups in the AC target the design process, and more specifically, not the management of the design process, but the actual design process of like a building and how to iterate the design or how to improve, I don't know, like egress access, or how to improve, I don't know, smoke or lighting. Or most startups are there. And it makes sense in some way because it's easier to automate a process that there is a lot of tech already involved. Like people are using Revit and using Tekla for, I don't know, structure, so you can automate the process of calculating a structure and so on and so forth. So it's much easier, and think it's also more sexy as an idea for you as an entrepreneur. Like, hey, I'm gonna work with a 3D viewer than just working with data, for example. Yeah, it's more sexy. It's easier to sell on at least from a marketing perspective. But the money is not there.
Mm,
Most of the money in the industry is either on the construction phase, where most money is lost, or on the initial phase working with the owner. So for me, it's just many companies are working there, sure, and I get it why, but there are not many companies working, for example, on the how to help our clients with more projects. I only know two or three or four companies that are working on that, and that's where the money is. Like, no company will say no to a product that will allow them to sell, let's say, 10% or 50% more, or get
mm,
15% more new clients at a small fee, like, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 bucks a month. No company will say no to that, and most companies are not targeting that segment because it's not as sexy as a 3D model. Um, and I also think that happens because and the same happened to me for sure. For me, it's more sexy a 3D model than that. But that happens because we're architects, and that's why we were told. And most entrepreneurs, that's the other thing. Most entrepreneurs that come from the industry are architects. Uh, go for architects. That's really cool. I don't know what's happening with engineers, um, but it's a reality. So I think that is happening in our industry, and that's going to change. It's also hard to implement, technology on the construction field because there is hardware involved, there is like logistics involved of connectivity, and you have to deal with a plumber maybe, or you have to deal with a person who is not used to or is not a tech savvy person. But that's why the potential for that, and it's much bigger than just competing with 200 startups that are doing the same thing you're doing. So I think that's going to change in the future, and that's it's when the industry is going to change completely, when we get more, actually more efficient. The industry is it's improving a lot. I don't think it's a broken industry like many people say that it just sucks. I don't think so. It's just different. The timing is different, and it's getting so much better. But I think it's going to be exponentially when a lot of startups start working more on the construction phase, for example, or even maintenance. That there are not many startups working in maintenance either.
I see. And from your experience, what are some common mistakes you observed AEC tech startups make, or costliest mistakes?
I don't think there is a exact recipe, but there are red flags that when you put many red flags together, um, it's a problem. I guess when you get clients that wanna resolve everything in a day, like I wanna have it done now, and they don't understand the time it takes. Even a single button in your interface, everything takes time. So when they don't have the feeling, they don't understand the time it takes. I think that's a problem. Um, I think when they don't have a clear understanding of the problem, and they think they know it all, and that's really common in our industry. It's like I'm an architect, I know the problems. It's like, yeah, you have experience and that's really good and that's helpful. But if you're not speaking to your customers every day or with
Mm,
people that have the same problem every day, even they are architects that they don't have the same experience you have, that's another big, big, big red flag if they are doing that. And also when they focus more on um, just marketing, and that's another problem. It's like, yeah, you need marketing and sales, and that's really helpful. But companies tend to waste a lot of money more on the like, hey, we're making it, we're successful, instead of you just need to put more of your time focusing on speaking to clients, doing customer discovery, adding value to your product, and not just showing the product to social media. That's important, yeah. But at the beginning, you need to be focused more on adding value all the time. Um, and finally, being an entrepreneur for the wrong reasons. Uh,
mm,
you ask them, why did you want to become an entrepreneur? And I've heard reasons like, I want to become a millionaire, or I want to be just successful for the purpose of being successful, of people thinking I'm successful. And those are the wrong reasons. We all get a little bit of that, right? If you get being an entrepreneur, you want to make money. Sure, that's fair. And you want to be recognized. We all want to be recognized. The problem is when it's just the main reason
yeah.
of not, yeah, just want to enjoy it and I want to add value. And so being an entrepreneur for the wrong reasons is also such a big mistake. And finally, not learning from your mistakes. It's You're gonna make mistakes all over the place all the time. But I've seen entrepreneurs that they made the same mistake over and over again, and they're not learning from it, not changing, not like we said, not having that balance on, hey, we stop doing this and we do something different. That's also a really big flag, and most likely, there, if you have all those red flags, you're not gonna make it.
And those are like really great insights and like hot takes, and I could correlate a lot with, like with all the things you said, especially the topic of the hour. What are your hot takes on AI?
Well, I think AI is such a cool technology, um, and for sure it's gonna change it all. Yeah, it's an amazing technology, but we need to be sure we separate the FOMO with the hype with what you can actually do with it today. Um, there are a lot of limitations. Um, and for some aspects, like, hey, I want to, I don't know, translate languages or create images. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's changing that specific business. But for some others, it's not making that big of a difference. No, it's just, yeah, sure, it's improving it. Yeah, absolutely. But it's not making it's just going to change their business altogether. And that applies for most companies. And also the fact that you need to understand that there are a lot of big limitations. People are like, yeah, LLMs are going to change it all. I'm going to create my own my own model. And it's like, your own model? You can create with these big LLMs, you can create your own assistant, not your own model. Models are, and that's a limitation that OpenAI has, that Llama 2 has, that all the big ones has. Gemini, all of them are closed models. So
Mm,
the thing is, every time you create an assistant, you have to re-upload on what you're training the assistant. So if you're doing it with a book, for example, it will need to read the book every time you upload it. We did the estimation, for example, with Harry Potter, and it will cost you, I think, like $1 every time you make a query. So
mm,
that's scalable. I think it was all the books of Harry Potter, not just one. But anyway, but it's just PDFs, a couple of PDFs, and you think that's scalable? Well, it'd be hard to just charge your clients $1 every time they make a prompt. So, and I think sure that's going to improve and it's going to get so much better in the future. And but you need to be aware of the limitation. Don't just try to throw AI to everything because you might end up being in a problem and not having a solution in your hands.
yeah, like that's so right. Like a lot of people don't get the inside of the economics of running the AI model. Like this GPU costs a bunch of money, and maybe an intern could read the building code and give you it in 5 minutes versus you paying $10 for 10 queries. But the thing which I saw, like now it's becoming very easy to create prototypes of AI apps. Just do some prompt engineering or just do like some reg. But then once you do deeper dive, you see the limitations, and it takes some time to go like, okay, what are the failure cases? And that's what is not being much talked about. Like, okay, like, okay, people say, okay, AI for construction, but like, what are the limitation? When should you train your own model? When should you not train the models and things like that? So, what do you think? Sorry, you were
No, go
saying something.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I wanted to know like, what are like some things not being publicly talked about for AI for AEC, which you would like to share your opinion?
I think um, first of all, the limitations of um, like precision, like there are certain things that you need precision. For example, if you need to automate the design process of or the calculations of a structure, would you rely on AI and just put your signature or stamp on top of it? Most likely not, because there is security involved. And the thing with AI is that when you have so many variables, it's not exact because the models are probabilistic. They're not. It's not something that will give you an exact result, right? Because you as a human being, AI, it's a imitation of how our neurons work, right? So, and you as a human being cannot give exact results when data is not precise, right? In most cases, data is not precise. I like the example of, the one that it shows, I think, a couple of dogs that look like muffins, and then a couple of muffins in between. It's like dog, 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 and highlights like a muffin, like also dog. And you, even as a person, get confused because if you look at it quickly, it's like, hey, yeah, that's a dog, and it's not, it's muffin. So there are limitations, like human beings have limitations. So people try think that it's perfect and it's going to be exact. It will never be exact. It will never produce. So you need to consider that, and it's right to use it, but have in mind that you will need to check it yourself anyway,
Mm.
and validate it anyway. There is no way it is going to be exact, and there are also limitations in the realm of 3D. That's another problem. um, 2D, it's much more easier. For example, image generations, because it's just pixels and the relationship between pixels, and it's much more easier for the model to understand and create an image. 3D is it's much more complex, not only because you are the third dimension, but the relationships go so much more complex because now you have different scales from building areas, floor uses. It is something that is going to take much more time than it took to create images. People are saying, no, we're going to create whole buildings with AI, and companies saying that, well, maybe in a specific building on a limited, like, I don't know, a couple of companies trying to do small houses or cottages, or yeah, it makes sense. And you might be able to do it in those cases. Um, and regardless, you might end up doing manual customizations to it. But just have a model to create any type of building automatically with, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen, and also the fact that there's so many when in the design process there's so much creativity involved that when you really want a differentiator, well, it's hard. It's like Mid Journey might create amazing images, but it's not creative. It's just based on previous images. So if you are creating a new thing, you might use Midjourney and then edit it on top of it, but creativity is not there, and it will not be on AI for a long time.
Got it. I have one final segment of the interview, which is rapid fire round. But before that, is there anything which we didn't cover in this interview and you'd like to share your thoughts on?
uh no, I would just say, have fun. If you're getting into a tech world, make sure to have fun, because it's there are so many opportunities out there on the tech side of our industry.
Got it. So I'll ask you a question and you have like less than 5 seconds to answer and you have to keep it super brief.
All
So,
right.
which city is in your travel bucket list?
Tokyo.
Your favorite architecture building?
Hmm. I would say Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
Uh, any book which made a big impact in your life?
Um, I do really like so many, but I think the hard things, the one from Ben
I think
Horowitz,
about
and
how. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the hard things about hard things. That's a classic, and I think that I've read it like 3 times. So.
I see you have a good book collection in the background.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. I can also add disrupted by Dan Lions. It's the green up there next to the duck. That's another one that I love it.
I see. Three words that your friend would describe you.
Intense, um, intense, passionate, and uh, hardworking, I guess.
I see. Favorite restaurant.
I love sushi, so I would say Akiko's. It's the best sushi I've tried. Akiko's in San Francisco.
I see. What is one AEC event which you recommend listeners to attend?
AC event. I would say two: Acadia and the Build conference in Europe.
I see. Your favorite movie?
Forrest Gump.
All right. That's it from my side. It was lovely hosting you, Valentine. Sorry. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks to you, Mayur. It was really fun, and I do hope you have a great day as well.